professor on the first day said, okay, I want you to put every slang term for every body part, for sex, for anything that's involved, and put it on the board. And everybody's like, you're kidding, right? You know, so eventually people kind of trickled down to the front, and people just started writing stuff. And then he said, if you ever say any of these in class again, you'll get an F. So the whole point was he wanted them to learn the real words. But in all honesty, when I taught my kids about their body and about sex and all that, I use some of the slang terms to say, hey, if someone says the word nuts, this is what this means. And I did it that way because that's what they understood. So if you say that, then as long as you know, what is that real word? Because if I hear it, you know, some doctors might use it, but most of them aren't going to. So anyway, let's draw those. So here they are. Okay. And so those little glowing red things are.
I'm guessing this is the color.
It could be, yeah, sure. Those are the testes or the testicles. Okay. And that is a type of gonad. Okay. So that's where this is where meiosis has taken place. All right, but the girls have a similar place too. And in fact, these testes were inside of your body for a guy. They had to fall and develop and actually come outside of the body because sperm can't be made at 98.6. They have to be made at a cooler temperature. So that's why they actually are sitting inside of the scrotal sac that keeps them there. That's why they're not inside of your body like for females. So let's give her some ovaries. Okay. So her little ovaries are maturing 1 egg a month. That's it. So girls go for quality, not quantity. It's not, let's just pump out a whole bunch of eggs this month. It is, let's really do a great job making one, with the hopes that this one will be fertilized. Okay, so here the ovaries are going to make an egg. Okay, so are the eggs haploid or diploid?
Haploid.
Haploid, right. So here's one in, which would be like, actually, let's do this. Let's do 23, which is one in. So there's an ovum. That's just another word for an egg. Sometimes they use that. So what do you think OV over there? What does that mean?
Something there. No?
Ovary, ova, ovum, egg. Sure does. So that's just the root word for egg. Okay, so now we're going to make this sperm look like a jumbo sperm, but it's really very tiny. And we know it's like the smallest cell in a guy's body. And the egg is the largest in a girl's. So when those come together, we'll make a zygote. And so there's our 46 chromosomes. So that is fertilization. Oops. And that's the good thing about being a science teacher. When I'm teaching the kids about the birds and the bees, is I just brought it down to animals, other animals. And I just said, okay, it's called internal fertilization. So I just went into it like a biology lesson. And then it wasn't so scary. It wasn't so gross. It was a little awkward because you're still talking to your parents about it. But they got it as a science lesson. So then later they could say, hey, how about this? And they could ask me questions. So still once in a while I'll get questions even from the older ones, but now they can just search it themselves. But I didn't want their definition and their whole idea of sex and their bodies and reproduction be by a bunch of people in a locker room who are all just talking about things they really don't know a lot about. Because I've always said that I actually have had students who were parents sitting in my classroom who really didn't know how they got pregnant. They knew that mechanics of what happened, but they really could not trace the whole process through their bodies.
So like,
Which is wild. I mean, so just because my claim is always just because you can do it doesn't mean you should be a parent. So you have to think about the chance of being a parent if I do this. So am I equipped for that? So if you think that way, it's like,
I can't think of it like inside of your body.
I know, but you have to think of it that way because then you think of disease and other things that can piggyback on these things. So tomorrow, that's what we talk about. Okay. All that fun stuff.
Man.
No.
I'm going to show you some really great pictures too.
Oh, stop.
Okay.
Please.
So, all of this here, is this mitosis or meiosis?
Meiosis.
Right. So think if it's happening inside of me, I'm going to give a part of me is that sperm or that egg. So meiosis only. That's what's happening with making sperm and egg. Haploid cells. So now you are just a fertilized egg. What type of cell division is this? Because now you're going DNA is going to double and now it divides. DNA doubles and now it divides. It's not meiosis, but mitosis. Yeah. And that's going to be mitosis, all of this. So you're a little ball of cells because DNA doubled and then it divided. And then you're going to see this on this video. You'll get to see the cell division. It's pretty amazing. And it's this little embryo that you were, is when, stop. They will freeze or arrest the cell division. So when my sister-in-law and brother had their in vitro, this happened in a petri dish. This didn't happen inside of her. So then the cell division happened, and then they say, whoop, let's stop it. And then they put it back in. Right. They put it in her because all this was happening in a petri dish. It's like, uh-oh, we better stop it. And they freeze them. And then they get her uterus ready to implant. So eventually, and they do this, y'all, you can do it for other different animals and stuff. Think about some of the programs for endangered species. I mean, they do some artificial insemination and stuff to try to help, populate some of those struggling species that are on the brink of extinction. So
what was the second color used for?
What was the what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Second color used for?
We're going to use it for something else. So you had a tail. Everybody in here knows you had a tail, right? So you have a butt bone, and there was an extension of that, and that's that apoptosis. Cells died. Your tail died. So there were enzymes, and there was a gene that cut on and said, okay, it's time to get rid of that tail. And as your tail was absorbed and decreased, what grew? Arms and legs. Yeah. So, that some folks still have like a little bit longer of a tail.
What's inside?
But,
So we really are.
Yeah.
Is that four? Is that four eggs?
this is all two, and two for you.
I know, but like inside the little tail.
This is just now. This is an embryo. So this is just little gill slits that you had. You had little gill slits, and then you grew up to be a little bow-legged fetus.
Why are you looking at me, Daniel? I'm not bow-legged.
So here's a little bow-legged fetus. Everybody was kind of bow-legged. You're all cramped up in there. There's a diaper. Okay, so this little fetus, what happens if it becomes a female? Why did it become a female?
You got an X.
Okay, so you got XX, right. And what if it forms into a guy?
XY. But the
Right.
X is going to be big. And then the Y is going to be small.
So, right, it's the bigger one, and then you have a little one. But that little Y is what's going to cause those testes to form into testes. Because that gene cuts on and those testes start to form, and then they go through the stages of development. So that is your sexual life cycle. All of this straight up is mitosis. I mean, and you're going to keep doing this to repair, even though you'll stop growing. So what I want you to picture is anything that's on this side making sperm is meiosis. Okay? Does that make sense? Kind of? Yes? Okay.
I still can't picture it inside our body.
I know. That's why I have lovely diagrams tomorrow.
Oh,
Haha.
Okay.
You come to motorcycle.
Oh, no, you have to. It's a great day. It's Wednesday. It's hump day.
Oh my
God.
No, you don't get it because I got sick.
Stop, Miss Thornhill, stop, that's nasty.
That's the fun part. Okay.
yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, so make sure there's enough.
Ew.
That should be one for, I think, it should be Moses and us for Travis. Is there 2 of them or 3? All right, so that should be, all right, yeah, we'll go ahead and pass it back, that's fine. Husband, you got, anybody has one? Okay, so I figured you guys need, you have extras? All right, so look on the back of this, and your homework is to, Husband, I'll tell you what, give that to Travis. You didn't get one. Yeah, so your homework is this, okay? So you're gonna put mitosis in one box and meiosis in the other. And what I want you to do is to find out how they're like and then how they're different, okay? And I'm gonna give you a hint because I really want us to start this video, and which are the questions on the back of the same sheet, okay? But we'll put mitosis and meiosis. Okay. So how they're like versus how they're different. Okay, so right here, this is where the color pencils come in. Yeah, it's trying to focus. All right, take a look at where this says meiosis. The first thing I want you to look at is, if this is where we start, G1. Did we not start in G1 for mitosis, like for the cell cycle? Yeah. Okay, keep that in mind. And then what happened to the DNA during S? Okay, so instead of 2N, what do we get? 4N. Okay, so it's this. Same thing for meiosis, same thing for mitosis. So that's a similarity. So this is what it's like. Okay. So it started off like this. Okay. And then DNA replication happened and it got an identical sister. Okay. And so for us, we would have 46 of those, but we would say times 2 because that's where our 92 comes in. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we went from 2N, 4N. So what we're going to do is, one of these is already dark. I don't know if you want to highlight it or something, but we're going to color the other one a different color. So this little light one, we're going to color it. So DNA doubled. Same thing, I use this one. They kind of like these better. So if you have one primitive, then it gets an identical sister. All right, but in mitosis, what happened to these two? Once they lined up, what happened to them? Yeah, they were split just like that. Well, check this out. How many divisions do you see for meiosis? Here's the cell. 1, and then check it out. 2. Meiosis does it twice. And that's why we end up getting 4 1N cells. So it's funny because they both start off the same way. So let's put one of those down as a similarity. So how they're alike. How did they start off alike? Okay. And let's see. Okay, so both start with G1 of the cell cycle. Okay, so what cell do they both start out with? 2N or 4N?
2N.
All right, so it started 2N, but then DNA doubled, so it went with 4N. So we'll say both start M with a 4N cell. Okay. And then I'm going to leave y'all too. You'll find some other similarities. All right, but I want to go back down to the difference. What kind of cells did mitosis make?
Sex.
The mitosis.
Body cells.
Body cells. Okay, so we're going to come over here. Type of cells, body cells. All right, what's another word for body cells? In case they don't use it, starts with a S.
Somatic.
Yes. All right, what kind of cells are we going to make with meiosis? A part of you, sex cells, right. Okay, what's another word for those? Starts with a G.
Gamma.
Gametes, yeah,
Oh, give me, how you say it?
gametes, you're right. So how many cell divisions did that one cell do in mitosis? So you had one cell, but how many divisions? It made 2 cells.
Oh, one.
One division making 2 cells.
Hold up.
Okay, so you see that part?
All right.
So think about that as another difference is when we look at meiosis, how many times does the cell divide? How many cells are made at the end? Those could be some differences, okay? All right, so I'm just going to leave you to that and try to come up with those. And you can even watch a video and say mitosis versus meiosis, but do it, if you do it on your phone and just find a picture or a video, go for it, okay? And then, so that's what you guys are going to do for that. Does that make sense? All right, the back side, this is our video. You have to answer 15 questions to get a 100. You won't get them all today, but we're going to start it, and you probably will get maybe 7 or 8, but you will finish watching it tomorrow, and you're going to try to get at least 15 questions. I give extra credit for more than that, okay? You have to answer at least 15. And this is you listen and write down the answers. Huh?
So like, can we like copy our link and watch it at home too if we don't get some of the questions?
It's just, you'll see, it's called The Life's Greatest Miracle, and I always search it on YouTube. It's great. I mean, it really is. So we're kind of going to leave the other meiosis part. We're going to leave this until tomorrow because I really want you to start the exercise. And it's real. So, all right. You could pack everything up except this. And something to write with. See that there for long.
Oh, so that's why you got saying in front of the
Yep. And you can see it. Yep. Most of the time when we put posters on the wall, everybody looks at them. So that's why I'm like, there
Or
you
can
go.
put it right there, like right there on the wall.
See?
I can put it right there for you if you need me to.
Messed up my tape, but. Okay, here we go.